Saudi Arabia's Capital Market Authority has now opened the country's stock exchange to foreigners. Kind of. Bloomberg's Marx is standing by in Riyadh. Willem, only institutional investors with at least $5 billion under management can actually take a stake. And even then, they can only take 5% of any Saudi company. If the Saudis are so reluctant, why are they doing this now?
I think a lot of people I've been speaking to the last week, Brendan, have been saying that this is an opportunity. They've been looking at this for the last 7 or 8 years, since they first allowed some ETF trading here in particular. This is an opportunity for some of their companies to improve their corporate governance, obviously get access to a broader capital pool. And I spoke to the head of the General Investment Authority yesterday, and that's the organization charged with bringing foreign direct investment into Saudi Arabia. And he said, you know, the emphasis when you talk about qualified financial institutions is on bringing in the quality investors. He wants these kinds of institutional investors who are going to improve things like corporate governance.
When we talk about corporate governance, it doesn't seem that there's a new urgency to that right now in Saudi Arabia. How much of this do you think, from who you've been talking to there, is pinned to the drop in oil prices?
No one here will say that on the record, at least, but there's clearly a sense amongst some people that there is a reason why this is the moment for that to happen. I asked again this guy from the General Investment Authority. He's really the only government official I've been able to talk to on the record about this. I asked him, why has this taken so long? Why is it happening now? He smiled and said, it's timely now. Of course, people here not so keen to speak out against anything that might be coming from the top level.
Willem, how much of this has to do with the leadership change within Saudi Arabia? The Council on Foreign Relations had a very important seminar this weekend on how significant that is for the nation. How much of it are we seeing within their finances?
Well, a lot of the bank officials I've been talking to over the last few days, Tom, have said that really there has been a sea change. The new administration, if you want to call it that, has said that this is a priority. They're very much focused on diversifying their economy. I guess you would say that the opening of this stock exchange is part of that in some ways. It's going to bring in new talent, potentially bring in new ideas, bring in new management teams. So this does seem to be something that is, you know, a broad shift across the economy.
They're building a $100 billion economic city, King Abdullah's economic city, the biggest port in the world, biggest economic zone.
To report, Martin Sorrell with us this morning as well. Willem, Sir Martin, you just returned from the Middle East. Is this Riyadh Dubaizing their economy?
Yes, I mean, it's as I said to you before, the shift from Beirut to Dubai and now to Riyadh and Jeddah. And the Abdullah Economic City is a very good example of that. We'll have that in Cannes, at the representatives of the King City in Cannes in a couple of weeks' time.
But the rest of Saudi Arabia will be removed from that special city as they are now.
Well, no, it's intensifying the economic development of that part of the world. And Saudi Arabia is the lead economy in the Middle East at the moment. Of course, the tensions surrounding Saudi Arabia and Yemen and elsewhere obviously undercut that. But having said that, this is just another example of how the economy is slowly, albeit slowly, opening up.
Willem, the door is open, but it's just cracked. To invest in this market, you have to have $5 billion already under management, and you can't own more than 5% of a company, no more than 49% in total of foreign investors. Why these restrictions, and is there any thought to getting them lifted?
Well, there's certainly the possibility of opening a private company that has foreign ownership here, not necessarily part of a listed one. There are obviously sectors here that they do worry about. Security is one of them. Also, real estate. If you're trying to invest in a real estate company that has any holdings in the two holy cities of Mecca and Medina, you're going to run into difficulties. In terms of further easing those restrictions, these are what some people call obstacles, hurdles here. People telling me that this is something they do see changing 2 or 3 years down the line, potentially. But again, that's speculation.
Marx in Riyadh, thank you.